Hi, I'm Richard from Lochaber Environmental Group's Bike Kitchen, and in this video I'm going to lead you through an aim check. An aim check is a basic safety check which you should do on your bike every time before you go out for a ride, and it just lets you have the peace of mind that everything is safe and ready to go. It's called an aim check because it follows the shape of an M across the bike, and because of its sequential nature you shouldn't really be able to miss anything out. I start at the front of the bike, but that's personal preference, you can do it either way. And the first thing I'm going to do is just check that my wheel axle is nice and tight. So I've got an Allen key for that. You might have a quick release lever, or you might require a 15mm spanner if you have a fixed axle. So that's snug. I'm now going to push the wheel from side to side across the bike, and that just lets me know that there's no play in the wheel bearings. I can then spin that wheel, and that just lets me know that it's nice and smooth and that there's no rubbing or that the wheel isn't out of true. I can also check the tyre at this point for the correct inflation, check that there's no rips or tears to the sidewall, check that there's no pieces of glass or thorns or anything embedded in the actual tyre as well. I'm now going to hold the front wheel between my legs and rotate the bars, and that lets me know that the stem bolts here are nice and tight. I can then push down on the brake levers, and that lets me know both that the brake levers themselves and the gear shifters are on nice and tight, and it also lets me know that my handlebar bolts here are nice and tight. I'm now going to move round and grab the front brake and push that back and forwards. That lets me know, one, that my brake is working well, and also that there's no play in the headset bearings. So that's everything at the front end of the bike. I can now move down to the cranks here. I'm just going to rotate the cranks just to make sure that the bottom bracket bearings are moving smoothly. I can then check for play in the bottom bracket by moving both crank arms again side to side across the bike. If just one moves, then you've got a loose crank arm and you need to address that by tightening that crank arm. If both moves, then you've got play in your bottom bracket, and that should either be serviced or replaced. Give your pedals a spin. Just make sure that they're moving nice and freely and that they're nice and smooth, and that's us done here. The next step is just to move up to the seat post. I'm just going to give that a quick rotate. That just lets me know that the seat post clamp is tight and also that the saddle rails are tight. If you have a dropper post, this would be a good opportunity now just to make sure that that's fully operational as well. Now I'm going to move to the back wheel, and I will push across the bike again, checking that the hub bearings are nice and smooth. I can lift the wheel and give that a spin, just checking again that there's no rubbing on the brakes, that there's no rip in the tyre, that there's nothing embedded in the tyre. And lastly, I'm just going to check that the back wheel is nice and tight as well. Okay, so that's us done. It takes a very short time, but it could obviously be very important if you did find something along the way that needed repaired. So that's an aim check, and I encourage you to give it a shot the next time before you go out on a ride, and just make sure that your bike is safe to ride.